Imagine stumbling upon buildings so strange, so eerie, that even explorers refuse to enter. Some seem frozen in time. Others look like they were abandoned yesterday. What you're about to see will make you question everything you thought you knew about forgotten places. Join us and let's uncover the most shocking abandoned structures on Earth. Number 12. The mysterious wheel structures of Jordan's desert. Hidden across Jordan's eastern desert lie hundreds of ancient stone circles that have puzzled archaeologists for decades. These massive wheel-like structures, some measuring up to 230 feet in diameter, were built around 2,000 years ago by unknown civilizations. The wheels vary dramatically in design. Some feature simple spokes radiating from central hubs, while others display complex geometric patterns that seem almost mathematical in their precision. What's truly strange is their purpose remains completely unknown despite extensive research. Early theories suggested they were ancient cemeteries, but excavations revealed no human remains or burial artifacts. Some researchers now believe they might have been astronomical calendars or ceremonial gathering spaces. The wheels are scattered across a harsh landscape near the Azraq Oasis, constructed from local basalt stones arranged in precise patterns. Many feature multiple concentric circles with stone spokes connecting the rings, creating designs that are only fully visible from above. Recent drone surveys have identified over 400 of these structures, with new ones still being discovered. The builders clearly invested enormous effort in their construction, moving thousands of heavy stones across difficult terrain. Carbon dating of organic materials found within the structures confirms their ancient origins, but the identity of their creators remains a mystery.
Number 11. City Hall Loop Station. Beneath the bustling streets of Manhattan lies one of New York's most beautiful secrets, an abandoned subway station that looks more like a cathedral than a transit stop. The City Hall Loop Station opened in 1904 as the crown jewel of the new subway system, designed by renowned architects to showcase American engineering and artistic achievement. Unlike the utilitarian stations we know today, City Hall Loop featured soaring, arched ceilings covered in elaborate tilework, brass chandeliers, and stained glass skylights that created an almost religious atmosphere underground. The station served as the ceremonial terminus for the city's first subway line, where politicians and dignitaries would board trains for publicity events and grand openings. Every surface was decorated with intricate Guastavino tile patterns, imported Italian marble, and handcrafted metalwork that cost more per square foot than most buildings of the era. But beauty couldn't overcome practicality. The station's elegant curved platform was too short for longer trains and too narrow for growing crowds of commuters. When the nearby Brooklyn Bridge station opened with modern amenities and better connections, City Hall Loop became redundant almost immediately. The last passenger train stopped there in 1945, and the station was sealed off from regular public access. For decades, urban explorers and transit enthusiasts have snuck into the abandoned station to photograph its preserved Art Nouveau splendor. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority occasionally offers rare guided tours, revealing how the station has been maintained as an unofficial museum of early subway design.
I have a question for you. First, I would like to say that it is possible to follow the greatest curiosities of our world every day. But to do so, you need to be subscribed to our channel. So, are you already subscribed? If not, take the opportunity to subscribe now. Also, take the opportunity to like the video, so YouTube will recommend more videos from our channel. So leave your like right now. And now that you have done that, let's go!
Number 10. Naval Base Coronado. Sometimes architectural disasters happen not through malicious intent, but through a combination of poor planning, bureaucratic oversight, and spectacular bad luck. Naval Base Coronado in San Diego became home to one of America's most embarrassing building controversies when satellite imagery revealed that a complex of military barracks formed a nearly perfect swastika when viewed from above. The buildings were constructed in the 1960s as part of a major expansion of the Naval Amphibious Base, designed by architect John Mock, who claimed he never intended for the structures to resemble Nazi symbolism. The complex consists of 4 identical L-shaped barracks buildings arranged around a central courtyard in what seemed like a logical and efficient layout from ground level. For decades, nobody noticed the unfortunate resemblance because the buildings looked perfectly normal from every angle except directly overhead. But the rise of Google Earth in the early 2000s made aerial views accessible to anyone with an internet connection, and it didn't take long for users to spot the controversial pattern. The discovery sparked outrage from veterans groups, Jewish organizations, and politicians who demanded immediate action to modify the building's appearance. Navy officials initially claimed the resemblance was purely coincidental and that changing the structures would be prohibitively expensive. They argued that the building served their intended purpose effectively and that cosmetic modifications would waste taxpayer money. But public pressure continued mounting as news outlets around the world reported on the Nazi naval base, creating an international embarrassment for the American military. In 2007, the Navy finally allocated $600,000 for landscaping and architectural modifications designed to break up the swastika pattern when viewed from above.
Number 9. Mountel Sea Forts. Rising from the gray waters of the Thames estuary like alien invaders, the Mountel Sea Forts represent one of Britain's most unusual defensive installations and one of its strangest abandoned structures. During World War II, as German bombers targeted London and other British cities, military planners realized they needed early warning systems positioned far from shore to detect incoming raids before they reached the mainland. Engineer Guy Mountel designed revolutionary steel and concrete towers that could be towed into position and anchored in shallow water, creating unsinkable anti-aircraft platforms in the middle of the sea. The forts featured multiple levels connected by narrow walkways, with living quarters, ammunition storage, radar equipment, and powerful anti-aircraft guns that could engage enemy bombers miles from the British coast. 7 Army forts and 4 Navy forts were installed at strategic locations, manned by crews who lived in cramped, uncomfortable conditions surrounded by nothing but water and sky. Life on the forts was incredibly difficult. Supplies arrived by boat when weather permitted, and storms could isolate the crews for weeks at a time in their steel and concrete prisons. Despite the harsh conditions, the forts proved highly effective at detecting incoming German attacks and shooting down enemy aircraft that threatened British cities. When the war ended, the forts were quickly abandoned, as newer radar technology and jet aircraft made them obsolete for military purposes. But the structures found new life in the 1960s when pirate radio broadcasters discovered that the forts lay outside British territorial waters and were perfect for transmitting unlicensed radio programs.
Number 8. The giant pink rabbit of Italy. In 2005, hikers in Italy's Piedmont region made one of the strangest discoveries in modern art history. A massive pink rabbit sprawled across a mountain hillside like a scene from Alice in Wonderland. This wasn't some bizarre natural phenomenon or ancient mystery, but rather an ambitious art project by the Vienna-based collective Geliten. The rabbit, officially called Hase, German for rabbit, measured 200 feet long and was visible from space, created from thousands of pink sweaters and stuffing. The artist designed their giant bunny to slowly decompose over 20 years, becoming part of the landscape as weather and wildlife gradually broke it down. Visitors were encouraged to climb on the rabbit, sleep inside it, and watch it transform over time, a meditation on art's impermanence and nature's power. The project required months of planning and construction, with team members hauling materials up steep mountain paths to assemble their surreal creation. Local residents initially reacted with confusion and concern, wondering if their quiet mountain community had been invaded by aliens or pranksters. But the rabbit became a pilgrimage site for art lovers and curious tourists, generating unexpected tourism revenue from nearby villages. Weather proved harsher than expected, and the rabbit deteriorated much faster than planned, essentially disappearing by 2016 instead of lasting until 2025. The project raised questions about environmental art, temporary installations, and humanity's relationship with wild spaces.
Number 7. Nagoro Scarecrow Village. Japan's countryside faces a depressing reality. Young people are fleeing to cities, leaving behind aging communities that slowly shrink until nothing remains but empty houses and overgrown fields. The village of Nagoro, in the mountains of Shikoku Island, experienced this decline firsthand, watching its population dwindle from hundreds to less than 30 residents over several decades. Most villages simply accept this fate and gradually fade away, but Nagoro found an unusual solution thanks to one creative resident named Ayano Tsukimi. When Tsukimi returned to care for her aging father, she began crafting life-size dolls to replace the neighbors who had moved away or passed on. What started as a simple art project quickly became an obsession that transformed the entire village into something between a museum and a horror movie set. Today, over 400 handmade scarecrows populate Nagoro, outnumbering living residents by more than 10 to 1. The dolls sit at bus stops, work in fields, attend school, and even hold village meetings, creating an eerily realistic simulation of community life. Each scarecrow represents a specific person who once lived in Nagoro, crafted with incredible attention to detail, using the departed residents' old clothes and personal effects. Tsukimi spends months on each doll, studying old photographs to capture facial expressions and mannerisms that bring her creations to life in deeply unsettling ways. Visitors often report feeling watched as they walk through the village, with hundreds of glass eyes tracking their movements from every doorway and window. The scarecrows attend seasonal festivals, sitting in neat rows like a ghostly audience for celebrations that no longer have enough living participants.
Number 6. Annie Lidle Elementary School. Built in 1915, Annie Lidle Elementary School served Jacksonville, Florida's children for nearly 4 decades, representing the community's commitment to education and progress. The elegant brick building featured high ceilings, large windows, and modern amenities that made it one of the city's premier educational facilities. Students learned reading, writing, and arithmetic in classrooms designed according to the latest pedagogical theories, while the playground buzzed with the sounds of children at recess. But progress proved to be the school's downfall when Interstate 95 was constructed in the 1950s, routing heavy traffic directly past the building. The constant noise of trucks and cars made teaching impossible, drowning out lessons and making concentration difficult for both students and teachers. Parents began complaining about the danger of children crossing busy roads to reach school, and enrollment started declining as families moved to quieter neighborhoods. By 1960, the building was abandoned, eventually serving as a storage facility for the school district's surplus equipment and supplies. A devastating fire in the 1990s damaged the roof and interior, accelerating the building's decay and allowing vegetation to invade the classrooms. Despite its deteriorated condition, historic preservationists have fought to save Annie Lidle Elementary as an example of early 20th century school architecture.
Number 5. Mesa Verde Cliff Dwellings. Carved directly into Colorado's sandstone cliffs, the Mesa Verde dwellings represent one of America's most impressive feats of ancient architecture. Between 1190 and 1300 AD, the ancestral Puebloans built entire cities suspended hundreds of feet above canyon floors, creating communities that housed thousands of people in what were essentially vertical neighborhoods. These weren't simple cave shelters, but sophisticated multi-story apartment complexes with over 600 rooms, ceremonial chambers, and storage areas that rival modern urban planning. The largest structure, Cliff Palace, contains 217 rooms and 23 ceremonial spaces called kivas, connected by a network of ladders and narrow walkways that required serious climbing skills just to get home. Families lived in these cliff cities for over a century, developing ingenious water collection systems and farming techniques on the mesa tops above their homes.
The dwellings provided perfect protection from weather and enemies, with natural rock overhangs creating roofs and strategic locations making them nearly impregnable fortresses. But around 1300 AD, the entire population mysteriously abandoned these remarkable cities, leaving behind pottery, tools, and personal belongings as if they planned to return tomorrow. Archaeological evidence suggests severe drought and resource depletion forced the mass migration, but the precise reasons remain debated. Today, visitors can tour these ancient apartment complexes and marvel at the engineering skills required to build such elaborate structures using only stone tools and human labor.
Number 4. Sthorne Unique Tower. Bangkok's skyline features one particularly conspicuous gap, where the Sthorne Unique Tower rises 47 stories into the sky, but remains completely empty and unfinished. Construction began in 1990 during Thailand's economic boom, when developers dreamed of creating luxury condominiums that would rival the finest residential buildings in Hong Kong or Singapore. The project attracted international investment and pre-sales from wealthy buyers who wanted penthouses with panoramic views of the bustling Thai capital. But the 1997 Asian financial crisis hit Thailand particularly hard, causing property values to collapse and foreign investors to flee the country overnight. With the building roughly 80% complete, construction suddenly stopped when funding dried up and the developer went bankrupt. For over 25 years, the concrete shell has dominated Bangkok's skyline like a giant tombstone, marking the death of economic optimism. The building lacks elevators, plumbing, electricity, or windows, just floors of raw concrete connected by emergency stairwells that urban explorers use to reach the roof. Despite being technically illegal, the tower has become a magnet for photographers, base jumpers, and thrill seekers who scale the building to capture stunning views of Bangkok from its abandoned upper floors. Local authorities have tried repeatedly to secure the building, but determined explorers always find new ways inside through construction gaps and maintenance openings. The tower's ghostly presence serves as a constant reminder of how quickly economic fortunes can change, transforming symbols of progress into monuments to failure. Recent attempts to revive the project have failed due to structural problems caused by decades of weathering and neglect.
Number 3. The sunken Roman Vegas. Once the playground of Roman emperors and the ultimate party destination of the ancient world, the city of Baia now lies beneath the Mediterranean waves off Italy's coast. This wasn't just any Roman settlement. It was essentially ancient Las Vegas, where the empire's elite came to indulge in luxury, politics, and pleasures that would make modern resorts jealous. Julius Caesar, Nero, and other powerful Romans built elaborate villas here, drawn by natural hot springs and the city's reputation for hedonistic excess. The city featured massive bath complexes, underwater dining rooms, and engineering marvels that showcased Roman ingenuity at its peak. Baia's downfall came from the same geological forces that made it famous. The area sits on active volcanic vents that created those beloved hot springs, but also caused gradual land subsidence. Over centuries, seismic activity and rising sea levels slowly swallowed the entire city. Today, Baia exists as one of the world's most spectacular underwater archaeological sites. Visitors can take glass-bottom boat tours or scuba dive through submerged marble columns, mosaic floors, and statue-lined corridors. The clear Mediterranean waters preserve incredible details. You can still see intricate frescoes on villa walls and elaborate tile work in ancient pools. Marine life has colonized the ruins, creating a surreal blend of Roman architecture and underwater ecosystem.
Number 2. The Badlands Guardian. Deep in Alberta, Canada, sits one of Earth's most mind-blowing geological accidents. From ground level, you'd walk right past it without a second glance, just another rocky outcrop in typical Badlands terrain. But zoom out to satellite view, and suddenly you're staring at what looks like a massive Native American head carved into the landscape, complete with a traditional feathered headdress.
The Badlands Guardian stretches across several acres, its features so detailed and precise that conspiracy theorists had a field day when Google Earth first revealed it in the early 2000s. Unlike the famous Nazca lions in Peru, which were deliberately created by ancient civilizations, this incredible formation happened purely by accident. Wind, water, and thousands of years of erosion slowly sculpted the sandstone and clay into what appears to be an intentional tribute to indigenous culture. The irony runs deeper when you notice the earbuds, a perfectly placed access road and oil well that make the Guardian look like he's listening to music. Local geologists explain that the specific mineral composition and layered rock structure created the perfect conditions for this artistic erosion. The darker areas represent harder rock that resisted weathering, while lighter sections show where softer materials wore away. Number 1. Hashima Island. From a distance, Hashima Island looks like a massive concrete warship anchored off Japan's coast. This tiny island, no bigger than a few city blocks, once housed over 5,000 people in what was essentially a vertical mining town built on solid rock. During Japan's rapid industrialization, Mitsubishi Corporation transformed this barren outcrop into a self-contained coal mining community. Workers lived in towering concrete apartment blocks that climbed up the island's edges, creating an urban density that rivaled Tokyo. The island featured everything a small city needed: schools, hospitals, shops, temples, even a swimming pool and rooftop gardens. For nearly 90 years, residents lived and worked entirely on this artificial concrete landscape, descending daily into underwater coal mines that extended far beneath the ocean floor. Life was tough, but profitable, with miners earning good wages that supported their families in the cramped but modern apartments. When Japan switched from coal to petroleum in the 1970s, Hashima's purpose vanished overnight. The final residents left in 1974, abandoning their belongings and leaving the island frozen in time. Nature quickly began reclaiming the concrete structures, with typhoons and salt air accelerating the decay. Hashima gained international fame when it appeared as a villain's lair in the James Bond film Skyfall, though the actual island proved too dangerous for filming.
Still curious? Then don't stop now. The next mystery is already waiting for you. Just click the video on screen. I saved it just for you. See you there, curious one.